Hi everyone, John Johnson at Ashdown here. Just wanted this morning to share some thoughts about the refurbishment and conversion of existing buildings. A lot of the property developers that I know and work with are involved in that process, whether it's a conversion of a commercial building to residential or whatever. And one of the things they all ask me very early in the process, in fact way too early in the process, is how much per square metre, per square foot for the construction cost. Well, frankly, that's like asking how much is a car. I mean, there are so many different variables, and if anyone jumps to tell you the answer to that, then I would treat it with suspicion. I think one of the things that they're very surprised about is when I turn around and ask them, well, what are you buying? Well, I'm buying a commercial building or whatever. Well, but what are you really buying? Have you done certain surveys? Do you know what it is you're actually buying? And when I say that, what I mean is that you really need to be focusing in on other things before you start jumping to cost per square metres and the like. Surveys that we would always recommend that are undertaken: asbestos, absolutely, that's the main one. Any building that was constructed prior to 2000 has the risk of it having asbestos containing materials. You should be asking the vendor for information here before you purchase and commit to purchase that building. There should be an asbestos management survey and a register if it's a commercial building, or if it's a communal part of a residential building as well. When you start thinking about refurbishment, you need more than that. You need a refurbishment and demolition survey, which is an intrusive survey to establish exactly what the asbestos is, if there is any, where it is, what it is, etc. That needs to be done by a specialist, so you need that survey. Finding asbestos that you're not expecting can absolutely blow your figures out the water, so be very careful with that. You need that without a doubt. The other things we would always talk about is, or advise on, is dimensional survey. Your architect has no chance of developing a design of what you want to do if you don't know where you're starting from. So it's like trying to read a map of a sat nav. You'll never get where you want to be unless you know where your starting point is. What size is the building, how high is the roof, where is it located on site. You need a dimensional survey, so you need to engage a land surveyor or geomatic surveyor. A few £100, 1,000 or two maybe at the most, to get a survey of the dimensions of the building. The other things that we would always recommend is the one that gets forgotten about is the check on the existing building services. So you need a building services consultant in to have a look at the incoming services: water, gas, electricity, the mains that's there, the installations that are there. Are they in the right place for where you want to connect into them? Are they of sufficient capacity? And are they of adequate quality? Because again, this one gets forgotten about, because if the services that come into the building aren't capable of taking your new installations, then you could be looking at some fairly major figures to resolve that problem. And the other survey that we would always recommend is a condition survey. So you need an RICS building surveyor, preferably RICS, as I say, to have a look at the condition of the building, and that may then lead us to concerns about some structural areas, in which case that would then develop into a structural survey, probably carried out by a structural engineer. But what it would do, it would highlight any major problems. So for instance, if the roof is gone completely and it's going to cost you £200,000 to repair the roof, then you must know that before you commit to buying the property. If you don't know that, then again, it can blow your figures out the water. So my advice would be, before you start committing to purchasing existing buildings and start worrying about construction costs per square metre, you need to put this preparatory work in place, because obviously it can have a major effect on what those figures are, and you don't want any surprises later on. So again, as always, if you need help with this, drop me a note or get in touch with us through the website, and we'll try and help out wherever we can. Thanks for watching.